In a final 27.5-minute game, the Atlantis Leviathans completed its dream run through the main event bracket of the Smite World Championship, becoming Season 8 victors in front of a global online audience.
Aggro all year long. It's been against the Leviathans. They will walk into the Tartarus Titans base. Far ahead of this game last year, they were told they do not belong. This year, we were told they would fall out early. Say it 3 times for the 3-time. Vamos, 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 Leviathans on top of the world of Smite.
The leading Group A placement team had done it, taking home the Smite World Championship trophy and the lion's share of a $400,000 prize pool. The team's dominant performance was the theme of the Season 8 finals, right back from the very beginning of the main event bracket. Pitted against the Olympus Bolts in the event's quarterfinals, Panatom, Shinto, Rongyu, Zapman and Yakor had the strategies in place to take down any team. Viewers were doubtful after Zapman fell to first blood, but the early elimination was no setback for the Leviathans, sitting less than 200 gold behind its opposition. The lead was taken back 17.5 minutes in as Yakor and Zapman caught 2 members of the Bolts out of position. Each team was itching to take down the game's first fire giant. Players were traded out as tensions rose on the battlefield. The fire giant was reset after the teams abandoned the cause, ending the conflict in a stalemate. All of the Leviathan's towers stood tall in each lane. The Bolts were forced to engage in a team fight or see their side of the map continue to be pushed.
Panatom post-mortem is able to root out Barracuda, but he still had the Aegis available and will survive the damage. Ben from downtown finally shuts down Yakor for the first time this game, and the 2 hunters on the Olympus Bolts maintain their lives through what could be one of the longest fire giant dances we have ever seen.
Near the 36-minute mark, the Bolts were finally rewarded with the fire giant and made plans to march down the laneway to end Game 1. But in the team's attempt to take down its first Phoenix Tower, something went horribly wrong. Lasbra bit the dust as Panatom and his team began the chase that flipped the game on its head. Haddix was removed from the battlefield as his teammate Barracuda fled for his life. The rest of the Bolts fell hard and fast in a match that should have gone their way. The Leviathans found its first win of the quarterfinals. Without delay, Game 2 was underway. With Muzenkab selected, Leviathan mid laner Shinto was about to have one hell of a game. Haddix and Awesome Jake hit the deck to kick things off for the team in blue. The Leviathans were off to a great start. In a fight for the Primal Fury, the Leviathans cemented their lead after taking down Haddix, Lasbra and Barracuda with 0 casualties. Things were looking dire for the Olympus Bolts as their first Phoenix Tower crumbled to the ground.
Barra has no health bar left as Panatom jumps in to take him out. Venenu slowed down, has to use the Aegis to try and delay as long as he can. He'll make it back to the fountain, as will Jake. But the Leviathans not quite as healthy as they may have wished for to try and go for this Titan. That man loses
the Olympus Bolts were crippled and were barely able to defend. With the fire giant buff behind them, the Leviathans went for the jugular and ended the second game of the series. The Leviathans were 1 game away from tournament progression, and with Osiris locked in for Yakor and Tiamat for Shinto, the game was looking good straight off the draft. More than 11 minutes went by before the teams found themselves in the heat of battle. Rongyu attempted an escape over the wall, but was cut down by Lasbra for first blood. Haddix and Panatom died only seconds later, but the trade was made complete as Lasbra died under the tower.
Execute is here for Haddix if he needs to use it, and he will not indeed get it off there. It gets body blocked out. Panatom makes it out just barely. Rongyu turns the fight around. Lasbra's gone, but the Winds are able to at least trade it out.
Barracuda left alone. Zapman, credit for this kill. Can Ven make his way out? We've seen some miraculous escapes. Not the case. Yakor picks up yet another one.
The fire giant went to the team in red. In a similar story to the first 2 games, the Bolts towers dropped one after another. A brawl at the right side Phoenix was the beginning of the end for Barracuda and his crew, as Yakor, Zapman and Shinto approached the Titan with only a low health Awesome Jake to stand in their way. With the final Titan done and dusted, the Leviathans moved on to the main event semi-finals, where they would face off against their toughest opponent yet. Locked in a battle for a spot in the Smite World Championship Grand Finals, the Leviathans would have to best the Camelot Kings in a best-of-5 showdown, a challenge that would prove difficult for the 5 experienced players. A massive 17 minutes went by without a player elimination. That was until Camelot Kings support Genetics fell victim to Yakor in the jungle. Variety was also killed in the conflict as the game swung in the Leviathans' favour. The Kings were simply not ready for team fights. They were frequently forced to retreat as Yakor and the gang continued to crush towers and farm camps. Continuing to snowball their opponents, the Leviathans crashed through the right side Phoenix and took what was rightfully theirs.
Suddenly, the game is on fire. We've had nothing but action for the last 5 minutes. Is this how we end? Is this where this game closes? Big Man Tings with Book of the Dead walks back into the fountain. The Camelot Kings as 3. Netrioid up in 1. Titan down to half. Big jump in from Variety, but the damage, it's connecting where it needs to. Leviathans take game 1.
The match turned around quicker than anyone had anticipated, but celebrations were cut short as the teams reset for the second semi-finals game. Full of confidence, Shinto opted for Chiron in the mid lane for crowd control options and sustainability. With the help of Panatom, he cleaned up Big Man Tings less than a minute in, claiming first blood. History soon repeated itself as Big Man Tings fell once more to the Leviathans' mid lane duo. The Camelot Kings were decisively losing the early game. Genetics, Captain Twig and Big Man Tings were being cut to shreds consistently as pressure was building on their side of the map. After Genetics was quickly eliminated once more, the game's first fire giant was picked up by the team in red. The Camelot Kings were behind their opposition in every way and could not contest.
Eyes are on Shinto. There's the dive, but you have not deleted the Chiron. He will get out and he will stay alive, and the rest of the damage flows through. Variety say goodbye to this game as Zapman melts him away. It's a jump out from Genetics as well, and Phoenix will burn on through.
All the Camelot Kings could do was sit and watch as all 3 of their Phoenix towers crumbled before their eyes. With Big Man Tings and Genetics waiting to be respawned, the blue side's defense was weak. 4 members of the Leviathans stepped in and claimed their Game 2 prize. Sitting 1 game away from its seat in the grand final, the Leviathans locked in their gods and went to war in Game 3. This time around, it was the Leviathans who fell to first blood as Netrioid snapped up Panatom in the left side jungle. But the team in blue answered back almost immediately, claiming 2 Camelot player heads only seconds apart. With the advantage inside of enemy territory, the Kings consistently farmed the laneways and both jungles. For the first time in the series, the Camelot Kings were ahead of the Leviathans.
Zapman sticks around, he takes so much damage. What are you doing there? Zapman gets deleted by Netrioid. Panatom sticks around as well. Genetics transforms, but it's the transformation from Panatom that should get him out alive. But Captain Twig, he's got something else in mind. Netrioid's got a double. Captain Twig adds 1 as well, and the Camelot Kings are here to play.
In a battle for the fire giant, the Leviathans were forced to retreat with 1 player down and the rest of the team on low health. The Kings were buffed up and ready to go. 8k ahead in gold, the Kings had no trouble burning down the left side and meet Phoenix Towers. The Leviathans struggled to defend. A cycle through Ultimate saw the Kings take down their first Titan of the semi-final series and re-spark some confidence on their side of the desk. After enduring the loss, the members of the Leviathans had to knuckle down and go back to their game-winning performance that saw them win the first 2 games. Knowing what's at stake, both teams played carefully in the early game. No risks were taken until Zapman was powered down by Netrioid and Genetics in the duo lane. With a well-farmed jungle and a gold fury, the Camelot Kings were well on their way to being geared out for the next team fight, one that they hope would solidify their victory.
Fire Giant down to half HP. Here comes Variety. Here comes
Coin
Genetics.
toss.
Fire Giant goes down. Big Man takes the first kill. The Leviathans get the big objective though. Zapman guns down Genetics on the front line. Variety
Still alive.
being whittled down by Shinto as well. And the AMC lives to the end. Pentatop puts him in the dirt. Deicide, baby, for the Leviathans 20 minutes in.
I'm not even sure.
A full team wipe was the beginning of the end for the Camelot Kings.
3 seconds left.
Despite being miles behind, the members of the Kings held up a strong defense. They forced out their opponents to keep their Phoenix towers intact.
Rung you, he's the first to go down. Yarkor
Etrioi.
desperately clinging to a kill, but they won't die. Yarkor ends up grabbing the first. It's Panatom on the back who's got to blink away from Captain Twig. Zapman gunning down. My man's playing front line. Big Man Tings comes up. Big Man with 2. Shinto whittled on down on the back line. Variety has got to go big. Panatom, he's got a triple. Deicide for the Leviathans, and they got their eyes on the mid lane.
In a fight to end it all, the Leviathans wiped the Kings off the map, drew their swords at the Titan, and advanced to the Smite World Championship Grand Final. And it was there that they raised hell to become flawless kings in the Smite professional scene.
Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with the amazing eSport content from around the gaming globe. Only on Unbeaten Esports.